Okay, remember they're changing my voice. In regards to mental health, okay? In regards to mental health, you need to understand what is normal first. What is normal, universally and fairly, is not the same as what is socially normative in a specific kind of ethnic dominated culture. For example, the police officer is one of the main types of people that enforces white social norms, okay, generally speaking, typically speaking, okay, is not universally normal. Neither is the Nazi guy or the communist that enforces those social norms in those constructs. Okay, that is socially normative for the time there. Okay, what is socially accepted in that context. Okay, the universal moral person would say that's not normal or moral. In the story of the Bible, I'll just touch on this briefly because I don't want to make this more complicated than it needs to be. Jesus is the idea of the universally normal and ideal, the universally ideal man. Okay, in his white form, he isn't, and that's a bit complicated why that is, because that is reinforcing white social norms. And the spectrum of white people does not achieve ideal. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay? But he's the idea, he's superimposed on the idea of the ideal man coming to earth. And he says, you Romans are wrong, you Jews are wrong, the pagans are wrong, etc. Right? Why? In their context of their particular cultures, they were normal, socially normative in that construct. In terms of universal normalcy, they weren't normal. And I've talked about this quite a bit in my videos. It is not right for the white cop or the token minority whitewash cop to try to enforce, okay, what is normal in the social construct of America. Americanism, it doesn't allow for universally normal. That's why they persecute me. Okay? It only allows for rock and roll, kind of square, jock, popular, what have you. They press people who plan to stay here for a long time about changing their culture. America is very much a cultural imperialist nation and a white supremacy nation. Okay? So some of you are still confused. So let's use the example of a white female trying to enforce social norms on me, you know, who's my age. Okay? Not my mother, but someone my age. Okay? And say I go to college. And she goes, well, yeah, you know, because you're not, you know, famous as a martial artist. Okay? And I'm actually the top martial artist, not only in America, but there ever was. The top martial artist in the world, and no one has ever been better than I am. Okay, for those of you who want to pretend that's not the case, we'll say for the sake of argument, in this scenario, we'll say that's the case to keep it simple. Okay? What she's doing is saying because you aren't white or whitewashed and from a behind the scenes group that is allowed to be famous, and for the sake of argument, we'll say it works like that for those of you who don't believe. Okay, that she then does not concede my greatness. She said, I'm not going to give you credit because you're not white or whitewashed. Let's look at it in terms of a Native American context. She said to a Native American, well, you're not the white or whitewashed conception of a Native American. Okay, like the Redskins football team. Okay, so I'm not going to accept that you're Native American or important in your culture or anyone else's. That's racist, right? There's a thin line between that and telling the top martial arts ever, because you are not white or whitewashed and allowed in the American construct and the propaganda construct to have that place in the construct. I'm going to act like you're fucking crazy for your saying you're the top martial artist. You see, she has superimposed her white supremacist American scale. And she doesn't have to be in the Klan to do it. Let's say she's in a sorority and her parents are Freemasons from the Eastern Star. One's a bisexual guy, one's a female, and she's even a liberal. But she's still attempting to enforce white supremacy using peer pressure. She's saying, look, you're crazy. And if you say that to enough people, okay, they're going to try to take you to the psych ward. So there's subtle threats. It's the coercive power of the state and the corporate state being used by her in that statement to try to get me to stop telling the truth. That is not normal. That is racist and psychotic. Just because there's a bunch of people like Nazis who are racist and psychotic on a spectrum doing it with you doesn't mean you're not racist and psychotic. In Nazi Germany, some of these guys were doctors, and they weren't as violent of racists as the Gestapo, for example. Does that mean they're not racist? No, they're still Nazis towing the party line. And so it is with white people in America. Basically, almost every single last white person in America is on the spectrum of racism and towing the party line. If you ask a lot of white racists, they'll agree. They think that everyone's racist, but that's not the case. It's just almost everyone is a racist on a spectrum. Okay, and that's part of why they're not universally normal. The word normal, and write this down, I can't stress this enough, is a play on words. It's an anagram, which is one or more words made from a different word, okay, with the letters rearranged. So the letter N and the word moral. It's an anagram, right? For the normal is an anagram for immoral. And in this case, they usually, and it's basically almost always connected. The words are connected one way or another. In this case, it's almost directly connected, right? Moral and normal. Also mature, moral, and normal. Also mate and mature. These words are connected. Okay, it's an anagram, right? Your mate or something like that. Mature. Okay, and moral, right? Mature, moral, and normal are connected. So, and mate, okay? So if you mate with somebody, right, using a morally precise scale, you're normal. And that includes who's the ideal. The top martial artist is universally ideal. Mind, body, soul, spirit. Okay, if you're a nerd, you're not training your mind, body, soul, spirit, so how could you be ideal? If you're a jock, you're not training your mind. How could you be ideal? If you're a soldier, you're not training your spirit. You're training the spirit of the state. So how could you be ideal? So only somebody who does martial arts could be ideal, and only the top martial artist ever possible is the universal ideal of all time, and that's me. Those who are normal live that. Those who are not normal, who are too afraid to man up or woman up and live that, do not live that. So you see, once we follow this train of thought to its finish, and that's why a bunch of psychopath racists in the state who refuse to give people a fair chance to be the leader of the state, okay, and have social networks and political groups that sabotage people like Donald Trump, and they're Donald Trumps in their own right on a spectrum. And they use the masses of their groups and their social networks to prevent me from my rightful place. But the normal person would rally to me, and they would obey moral precision through me as the valid leader. They would know that it's immoral to cheat me out of my right to lead. So therefore, other people aren't just inferior with a universal scale. I know a lot of you don't like that word, but I'm just going to be direct, clear, and concise. Okay? They're not only inferior, but they're abnormal. Right? They're not human, they're inhuman. They're going into the sin of the world, if you will, the lack of principle, the evil behaviors and thinking and ideology of the world, and they're not going out of that into the realm of normal. So they're in the box of evil and not out of the box as transcendent and normal. So to be normal, you therefore have to transcend the world. So let's review what I said real quickly to kind of keep it simple. The words mate, mature, moral, and normal are connected. Those four words, mate, mature, normal, and moral. 3 M words, 1 N word. Those words are connected. Mate, mature, normal, and moral. Ironically, the N word, for a derogatory term for Negro, also starts with an N, right? It's not a coincidence, because they want to trigger the N word to confuse you about what the other N word, normal, is. They want to trigger the Nigger. Okay, they rhymes with trigger. So he starts acting angry, and they say that he's an angry black man, lock him up. Put him on psych meds to prevent you from coming to the conclusion that the British guy who refuses to treat people fairly, the English guy, is not normal. The Jewish guy who refuses to treat people fairly is not normal. The token minority who refuses to treat people fairly is not normal. The thug who refuses to treat people fairly is not normal. Only somebody who is moral could be normal. And only somebody who's normal universally, not in white supremacy, could be. So moral universally is normal. Normal universally is moral. Now the ideal is intensity. So just because you don't rob the store and I don't rob the store doesn't mean we're both moral to the same degree. We have to look at the other factors, mind, body, soul, and spirit. Have you achieved a degree of intense morality, which is proven through martial arts? If you cannot prove logically that you are more moral than someone else, as a logical assumption, it is wrong for you to say that you are. It's wrong for you to say that you're equal or greater in terms of morality, which is where it matters most. Character. Martial arts is about character, expressing characters, lifestyles. Lifestyles express character. Okay, so it's wrong for them to say their martial arts systems are equal and or greater than mine, because mine has allowed me to come to a higher point of character and moral intensity and righteousness and justice. Okay, so I've proven to you that the words moral, mature, normal, and mate are connected, and that people who do not have a universal scale, okay, are doing the wrong thing in regards to mating and arguing that they're superior. So when a chick goes, who does that? Okay, is your scale universal and moral with me and the ideal? Then you're reinforcing your psychosis. Stop, you crazy female. You're harming yourself and your friends and your family where it matters most in terms of character. Martial arts is not about avoiding pain. Some martial arts, they beat each other up, right? They do things that they injure themselves while training, even if they don't fight in a cage. Okay? It's not about avoiding pain. It's not about avoiding mental hardship. It's not about avoiding family loss. Some martial artists have gone to war historically. It's not about those things. It's about building character. Okay? So where you hurt people the most has to do with where you prevent them from having true character, true morality, true maturity, true justice, true righteousness, true love, moral, mental, spiritual, and romantic living, prowess, excellence, precision. You see what I'm saying? This video is very important. It's a little bit confusing because people aren't used to thinking this way. If you already think this way, you've followed me every step of the way. If you haven't, perhaps you're struggling because you're too busy saying, well, but nobody's heard of you. No one's heard of him. I don't understand why he thinks he should be in charge. Like he's not famous, you know what I mean? No, we do know what you mean, but you're wrong. You are wrong. Okay? Before Jesus, when Jesus in the Bible said that he's the Son of God, he wasn't known around the world. Should he not say that he's the Son of God? So immediately your fanatic scale is wrong. You're a social norm fanatic and not someone who has universal normalcy in truth. And it's not the same thing. When the white man superimposes his white supremacy on universal normalcy, he's wrong. Even if he's just a fraternity guy and not in the Klan. Even if he's just a corporate guy and not in the Klan. He's still a white supremacist who's wrong. When the gay, even if he's not in a gay hate group, tries to enforce homosexuality as the normalcy, as what's normal, he's wrong. In the culture of a homosexual culture, he's socially normative in that culture, but he's not universally normative. So it's wrong for him and it's evil for him to say, hey, how normal you are is how gay you are. That's wrong. And there's a bunch of gay craftsmen and so on and so forth. Basically Freemasons are gayish, right? Sororities and fraternities are gayish. Corporations, news guys, fashion guys, tech guys, list goes on and on. They're gay, gay, gay. A nerd is a gayish, kind of sissy-ish person, right? So everywhere you look, homosexuality is being forced on you, homosexual and gayish as normalish. Why? Gender neutral, right? That's not normal. That's socially normative in those cultures. It is wrong to pretend that socially normative in your unnatural culture especially is equal or greater to universally normal. And it takes on a particularly disturbing degree of being wrong when you persecute me, the one guy who lives universal normalcy and insists on moral precision, insists on focused moral intensity as the norm, as the ideal. And it's manifested, its greatest expression is in the top martial arts ever, who is king. He's the king of what is great. He's the king of morality, maturity, normalcy, and that is me. I am he. I am that I am. I am who I am. I am what I have become and what I will be in the afterlife, and that is the pinnacle of human existence. That is the pinnacle of transcendent existence. That is the Christos, the anointed one, the top martial arts ever. You should understand why I'm right to a T by now. If not, ask questions. It is not normal to not ask questions about this video that's slightly complicated and to assume that you're right and to assume that I'm crazy. There's nothing crazy about this video. I am right to not obey God through me is abnormal and crazy, using a universal scale and not a socially normative scale of a despicable and corrupt culture. Thank you.